We usually get started about 3 minutes after the hour, so you have 4 minutes because it takes me, some time to get myself situated here.
Oh, there you go.
Hi.
Hello.
I was
Hi,
blocking
Monica.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Great.
Good, good. Everybody, don't forget to put your city and state in the chat for us so we can recognize you. And we'll get started in 3 minutes. We just want to give some more people a chance to come in, get some lunchtime knowledge. In the meantime, you two hail from DC, right?
Yeah.
All righty then. You've always lived there, or are you from someplace else?
I'm from Chicago.
And I'm from New York.
Chicago and New York. All right.
Yeah. Then we met in between in Syracuse. We've been here for 30 years.
Since 1990, right?
Yeah.
That's 30 years, yeah. So we're from DC.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, basically by now you got to claim
Yeah,
it,
right.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You got to claim it. So, all right, we're going to give people just another minute to come in. Put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you. Let me actually also open up my YouTube here as well, just because sometimes people come in there. We want to acknowledge everybody. My YouTube. So don't forget to put your city and state in the chat. I am in YouTube now as well, and I'm on one of the Facebook groups. So we've got Sacramento in the house. We've got Bessemer, Alabama. We've got Charlotte. We want to say hello to everybody. Some of you may be working right now and just tuning in. That's okay too. You are also welcome to put your Q&A in the chat. See, we got Atlanta in the house. Good to see you, ATL. So we definitely want to recognize everyone here today. Today's conversation should be fun and exciting about creating a powerful brand identity. And sometimes people think that this is just for business. However, there's personal branding. There's branding with your careers, moving up the corporate ladder. And there's, of course, branding with your businesses. Some of you may be looking to change up in 2021. This is officially the last quarter of 2020, so it's not even too late to get a new brand out there for 2020. So yeah, so we're super excited, and we're just going to jump right in. So I was introduced to you through our publicist Neil, so I have to admit I don't know very much about you, and I'm sure the audience wants to know a little bit more about you as well. So why don't we start off with Chicago, New York. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I'll start. I'm Monica Seaberry, president of Seaberry Design Communications. We're a design firm, and I've always been an artist. And we met, I'm from Chicago, Toren's from New York. We met in Syracuse, New York. And we moved down here quite a while ago, like I said, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And we worked for Newhouse News Service. And we were able to take our skills from Newhouse, from working at the news service, and turn them into a business.
So a lot of times people wouldn't think that a news service would hire someone creative like you. What were you doing there? I'm just curious before you move on to Toren.
I was the graphics editor. So I created infographics and illustrations.
Oh, okay.
But I was the only one.
Okay.
So I was the head of the department and the grunt worker.
And everything in between. Everything in business, right? Exactly. So Toren, why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm Toren Beasley, and I'm the COO at Seaberry Design. And Monica's telling you, it's actually a really, really good story, because the transformation from, being at the news service where Monica's was the graphics editor and I was the managing editor, was pretty huge. When we first started, we worked at one newspaper in Syracuse. We met in college before then, but we worked at one newspaper together in Syracuse, and we actually were brought to DC to start the national sort of syndication service for Newhouse. And what happened there was we set up an entire national network. I'm sorry, I'm just turning this thing off here. Of freelancers and photographers and artists, and the Newhouse News Service actually served all 26 Newhouse newspapers with a daily circulation of about 2.1, 2.2 million. So it was actually a pretty big job. And Monica being in charge of the whole national network of distribution for graphics, and me starting out in photography, and then ultimately advancing on to all of the content for the newspapers. And we even led the charge into the digital age for the Newhouse News Service. So it was big. It was a lot of fun. And what happened was in 2008, the market crashed.
We all know that.
And when it crashed, newspapers got hit hard because it was a real hit to what was their business at the time. And a lot of people think that newspapers, are these altruistic sorts of machines that have people just out there for the public good, but no, they're businesses.
Right.
And they run on advertising.
Yeah.
And if they can't sell ads, they lose people.
Yep.
And the way they used people in that model was to create a network that connected consumers to advertisers. That's what newspapers do. They don't just do the news just for the sake of doing the news. The business model is you have people writing for you so that you can connect advertisers to consumers. So in effect, the skills that Monica and I had were skills that did translate into the market. And,
so that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and it was a big challenge for a lot of reporters because they were feeling like, well, I don't have skills that translate into market, but actually they do.
They do.
And we're working, some of our partners are former reporters, and they're running, communications agencies and public relations firms and doing stuff like that. So that transition was pretty big. But we learned a lot about branding early on, and we've grown from just being a graphic design firm to really a full-fledged, pretty substantial creative agency. So we do a lot more than graphic design. Branding is more than graphic design. And of course, we've expanded the service offerings too, and actually created new businesses as the market has changed. So we've got like 4 businesses that have come off of graphic design, 3 actually in one partnership.
So then let's take a step back. What is branding and why do we care?
So brand, I'll start that out and bring it, let Monica sort of come in on the side. Your brand, a brand, is really important, whether you're in business or as you mentioned, personal. But we like to look at it from the business point of view, because people have customers. And the biggest mistake that most people make is thinking that the brand is actually the logo. It's not. The logo is the brand mark. It's what invites you to the brand. On a personal level, it's like people might think that their brand is the way they dress, but it's not. It's actually the promise of a relationship between you, if you're an individual, or your business, and everybody else out in the marketplace that you want to be your friend. So whether you're a business or a person, it's still about those relationships and the promise of a positive relationship. So developing your brand is a very serious undertaking, in that you have to really examine the market, and you have to determine for your business and for yourself who's going to be your friend, who you want to be your friend, who might be willing to be your friend, and why. Why would they want to be your friend?
And what can you do to make them be your friend? So when you wake up in the morning and decide to get dressed, you wear something that would attract the people that you want to be attracted to. you wouldn't go out in bummy clothes if you want to go get a job in corporate America.
Mhm.
So you wear what is attractive to the audience that you want to attract. So that's the same way that's why it's more than just a logo. It's your promise to the people that you are talking to. It's what you promise that you're going to deliver.
How you're going to change their life, how you're going to benefit them. Because it's really not, and this is another interesting thing about brands. Companies and people don't own brands. The market owns the brand. So your friends own your brand because they're the ones that are going to be out there creating equity for you, brand equity for you and for your company. So they own it. They're the ones that are going to say, hey, I love this. I'm going to stay with it. It really changed my life. Or they're going to talk bad about you. And in the prior case, you have a positive brand equity or a positive sense that people have of you. Or if they don't like you, you have negative brand equity. And it's the
Well,
same
that's
thing
what
with
I
your
was
business.
thinking is sometimes people like the negative brand equity as well because it's polarizing and, and because it's polarizing, they get more like extreme fans on the other end,
Well,
um,
but that's not really, it doesn't end up really being profitable long term.
As far as sales.
Right.
as far as sales. Yeah.
Right, because
Right.
it narrows your audience, number one.
Mhm.
And there's, a huge example of that, going on right now. And it reduces your profitability. And
Yeah,
there's a
but
huge example
you
of
do
that
still
going on.
want a niche, right? You don't want to be all things to all people though, right?
No, but a niche still with a positive brand, with positive brand equity.
Mhm.
And actually, that's a good point that you raised. There are a lot of different kinds of businesses. There are businesses for mass market, which is for just about everybody. And there are niche businesses, gourmet businesses, boutique businesses, whose clientele is very small, but those clients can be extremely profitable. So think of two millionaires as your friend who are incredible connectors and do a lot of business with you. And as a result, you make a lot of money. Or 50,000 people who are not millionaires, who are your friends. So you can make those choices. And as a matter of fact, one of the adages you keep hearing is that you kind of average the amount of money that your friends make. So choose your friends wisely. And that is more about having a small group of really profitable friends as opposed to a larger group of people that you would have to work a lot harder.
Well, I mean, I've always heard never be the richest person in your circle, So, but let's kind of take this and make it a little bit more practical because we've talked I call it airy fairy, right?
Sure.
Very theoretical.
Sure.
But let's take a business. Let's say that somebody is a chef, for example. What kind of branding do they do, if they are, let's say, starting a catering company? We don't want them, starting a restaurant, but let's say they're starting a catering company. They've got baked goods. Someone's got Jamaican rum cake, something like that. What do they do with regards to branding in practical terms to really help?
The first thing they'd have to do is identify their audience. So like you said, catering, there are lots of different kinds of catering. What kind of food do you serve? What kind of person eats that food? And what kind of events would you cater at? So if it's Jamaican rum cake, you have a niche that you have to go after. And so you have to look in a positive way like that niche would want to see you. And then they would want to use you as a caterer and buy your food. So you want to attract your audience and your niche, and that's really important in a positive way.
And people do have to have a way to test your product, right? And they have to have a way to test your brand. So what that means is, as you choose that niche audience, you have to tell them what they can expect from you. What's your promise? How are you going to change their lives? So in the event that you're a caterer, then you might want to get after people who have a lot of parties, and you might want to tell them how you're going to enhance their social activities.
And how you're going to make their event special.
Special.
It's got to be positive, though. It can't
And
be.
then you have to deliver on that promise. So when you look at places that have weddings, they're doing the same thing. What they do is they call you in, they let you come in, they give you a tasting, and then they talk to you about all the special things they do for your wedding. Most importantly, they talk about not just food, but how things are going to come off on time and what your place is going to look like and how they're going to take care of all of your guests, how they're going to handle people who are late, what's going to happen, when the preacher gets there, where's everybody going to stand? They'll walk you through the rehearsals. So that is all part of brand behavior, which you have to come up with. It's not just that you can tell them I make the best rum cake on the planet, but how are you going to behave as you deliver that rum cake? How are you going to continue to touch them in a way that makes them feel really good? So what we do, and this is, I should talk a little bit about process. We do a creative brief first. That's a really deep dive into what your business is. Then we do research on the audience of the business. Then we talk to you about your experience and any previous work you've done. And then we talk about what the logo mark is supposed to say to people and how that's going to transmit what your message is to them. Then we do the customer journey, meaning where is your customer and how do they get to you? That's really important. What's their journey to you? What makes them get up and come to you? And once we figure out, that customer journey, then we start to look at what you need to do to be able to attract that customer and have them be friends with you. And it's a step-by-step process. It's deep. It takes months to really figure all that out. You have homework to do about how you want to behave and about how the people who are going to work with you are going to behave. How are they going to talk? How are they going to look? What's going to happen if there is someone who's not so pleased with you? How is that going to escalate and get back to you? How are your employees going to handle that? They have to be trained. So the brand is a living thing. It's a person, and everybody is a part of that personality, everybody in your organization.
So you've scared me and probably everyone else on here by saying that this can take months, because a lot of us as Black businesses don't have months. We've got hours, right? Or days. So is there some sort of way that we can kind of, I'll admit, I personally, I have a business plan writing company. I didn't start off with branding. I started off with the simple, I write business plans for companies who want to get funded, right? And from there, I said my only personal branding thing that I brought to the table is I said to people, hey, if I tell you it's going to be done Thursday by 5 p.m., Thursday at 4:59, you'll be able to check your email and it'll be there. And that was the only branding thing that I did. And I grew a pretty successful business,
Sure.
So what I don't want to do is scare people so much that they think, oh, this is going to take months and I don't have time for that. And therefore I'm going to, step away. So maybe are there some intermediary steps that people can do as they're going through this months-long journey? And I will say one more thing. I got better at my business as I got more clients in. So as I began to understand my client's journey and what made them successful, I was able to articulate that on the front end of, consulting with prospects. But I wouldn't have been able to do that at the very beginning when I hadn't walked 10, 12, 15 people through that process. So I just kind of want to, not scare people so much that they think, oh, I can't start with branding because I haven't sold the first rum cake yet,
Well, what you did was you actually did start with branding. And here's how it started. When you said to yourself, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that everything is on time. That's part of the promise to your client. We did that. That's how we started. We got our reputation from never missing a deadline.
That was 24 hours if necessary.
And we did.
And everybody knew they could count on us.
Mhm.
So that was a
And
part
coming
of our
from the
brand.
news actually kind of gave you credibility with that too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I do think that people need to take where they've come from, where they have that
Exactly.
natural credibility, and say, look, in my current job, past life, whatever, I had to make deadlines, or I had to do this or that, whatever it is, and bring that over to that new business or that new career or whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, you can use that. That's the beginning of your branding.
Mhm.
So yeah, don't be afraid, because another point that you raised that's a big part of branding is what you learn from your customers,
Mhm.
right? Be patient enough to learn from them,
Mhm.
and make sure that you decide in your head when you start out, it's not going to ever be about confrontation or getting mad at a customer or even talking
Customers
bad
always
about a
right.
customer. And it's because that feeds your brand as well.
And that takes time,
Yeah.
because it takes time for you to build those relationships with your customers. And that helps inform you of what your brand is. Because you can look at all your relationships with your customers and find out, well, what made them successful. And that's part of their journey to you.
Mhm.
And that's how you're building your brand. But
So-
you can't do it in a day.
Right. So that is happening. That is happening. And often what we've done with our clients is started them out with a type-based logo as opposed to a visual logo,
Mhm.
something that's symbolic, because in the early stages, you really don't know enough to be able to move to a logo that has visual symbols. But the type-based logo still is important. There are questions about that, what the font is going to be, because different fonts, and Monica can speak to that, different fonts actually say different things about you.
Interesting. Can
But
you give
if
us an
you at
example?
if at least you know that you want to appear to be a traditional company, say you
Mhm.
are in finance,
Mhm.
and you might not have a long track record, but you want to appear to be able to help people financially, you would pick what's called a type with a serif. And that's those little feet at the bottom of each letter,
Mhm.
because those represent tradition, security,
Confidence.
confidence, things like that. If you choose a sans serif, that's a type that doesn't have the little feet and it just has even lines,
Mhm.
then you're saying that you're modern, you're forward thinking. So it depends on your company and what you want to say initially.
And upbeat. And then the type color is something too. And you don't just think about your favorite color. Like we have some clients that we were doing work for, and they kept saying, well, it's got to be purple.
Look, we love royalty over here.
Right.
But what are your clients going to be attracted to?
Right.
So if you took that serif font, for example, and you added blue to it, that's a trusting
A trusted color.
that
Mhm.
might go along with that. But you can be modern with a different shade of blue. It depends on what you're trying to express
Right.
through your logo. And you keep it clean and you keep it simple. A lot of our clients will come in and they say, well, I want a script font for my name. That's hard to read from a
Mhm.
distance,
Yeah.
So those are things that you want to bear in mind. And those are things that you can start with if you're good enough to consult with yourself and you read some books and you kind of figure those pieces out, those go a good way, so that by the time you get to a company like us, you would have had enough experience to be able to answer some questions.
If you go back to the example you gave of the Jamaican catering company,
Mhm.
you'd have to think about your audience. How would your audience know that you're a Jamaican catering company? Well, you would be best to choose bright yellow, bright red, and have a fun font, because when people think about Jamaica, they think, oh, I'm going to have a fun time.
Yes, it's
So
the
if you
red,
have
green.
a fun, happy
Yes.
font and
Yes.
bright colors, you're like, oh, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to hire them.
That's right.
Right.
That's
But if
right.
all
But
you
you
wanna
wouldn't
do-
want that for your financial planner.
No,
No.
you don't. Exactly.
But if on the other hand, the rum cake is only part of what you do, and you're more into formal events,
Mhm.
then that's going to be a different take.
Different take.
And you still have to think, and it's worth bringing in a consultant early too, not for the big stuff, but for the little stuff that says, okay, help me think through this. This is what my business is. This is who I think my customer is. And this is how I think I change their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And based on those 3 questions, you can come up with a good start to, this is how you should behave. This is what your logo should look like. This is what you need to project.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that, when you get your logo, even if it's type-based, you're going to get colors. You're going to get how it should be used and how it should not be used.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get advice on the kinds of materials you might want to produce, and on what collateral you might need, whether it's printed collateral or whether it's branded collateral, like maybe you need cook's jackets that are embroidered with your logo on them in a certain color, in a certain style that helps you move forward. Those are things you can do, and you can do them now before you get into the big brand, which is really going to be effective when you start having clients and really, employees too, and really starting to reach deep into the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. So Felicia has a question here. First thing Felicia says is the truth of the time commitment is a reality. This does not happen overnight. We agree. And then the question is, at what point in the branding process should you move to trademarking? How can you be first to trademark a logo, tagline, etc., if you were doing the brand mark later in the process and starting just at a basic level?
Well, trademarking you can always do with your logo. It's the mark and the color and the whole thing. You can do that. And then when you rebrand or get into a logo mark, you just do it again, and you have them both. And usually, type can play off whatever the symbolic logo is. The type can play off of it too, because there's usually a time that you're going to use just type as well in your business. So you do both.
Monica, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, you can trademark it anytime. If you don't have a logo mark, an image yet, when you get the image, you can trademark it. It's the chances that someone else has the same image for the same business, because you can trademark. You can have two names. The name of your company can be the same name as someone else's company, as long as they're not doing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can trademark it. So
yeah, and she who trademarks
someone's
first
going to have
wins.
your logo already for for what you do. That there's no chance.
And it's copyrighted the moment you start using it. So
yeah,
the moment you take the
actually,
type
you
and
can
you
just
start
put
using it in business,
yeah,
when you go to the trademark office, you have samples like your envelope or your letterhead or something that you have your type-based logo on, because the designer will design the logo. So it becomes a mark.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take it to the trademark office and definitely trademark it.
and if you put the circle with the C
Mm-hmm.
in it, the copyright,
The
if you put
copyright.
that on there, then that's legit, that you could sue someone for using it.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a different thought process about this, just because of, I don't know if people remember Ivy, Blue Ivy, and who is of course Beyonce and Jay-Z's daughter. And there was an issue where a catering company had gotten the trademark before Blue Ivy was born, and then all of a sudden, the most powerful, I guess we could say, or one of the most powerful Black couples try to get it. And there ended up being this huge brouhaha. So I do think that, and this woman, the original woman, had to fight. Like, I'm sure she had to spend a lot of money. So I do think that people need to think about like how impactful that trademark or brand is going to be. And if somebody has deep pockets, because you can sue somebody, but if someone has deep pockets, are you really willing to go the distance with that? I do think that that's something that we should talk about at least.
Well, that's something that's on the board. That happened with Lady Antebellum. You know, they changed their name, and
Mhm.
there's a black woman who's a blues singer who had that name first.
Mhm.
Lady Antebellum has a lot of money.
Mhm.
The black woman came back and said, well, give me a few $1,000,000 and you can have it.
Mhm.
And they said no. And then there ended up being a legal battle that I don't know how it's going to be resolved. But you know, those things can happen. And really you shouldn't say, hey, I'm not gonna file a trademark for my business name, or I'm not gonna do that. You'll just have to make the decision about how far you want to go if that should happen to
Right.
you legally. But I wouldn't let it scare me. It's not a big deal. You
For
know,
our first trademark, we actually went to the the Copyright and Trademark Office.
Mhm.
And what you do is you have your picture and you go through drawers. They'll let you do it yourself. You
Yeah.
just go through drawers.
you can
And
do it
if-
online now.
If
Yes,
there's
you can do it online. Yes.
yeah, but I thought that was easier because you're actually seeing
Yeah,
these
exactly.
pieces of paper that people have. This is my logo for this,
Mhm.
and you're like going through the drawers, and you're like, oh wow, nobody's got ours for what we're branding.
The type of company.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't let that stop me or
Right.
bother me. I wouldn't even think twice. I
Mhm.
would go ahead and just get my company name. And if somebody wants to try and take it and they want to offer me enough money to do it, that's cool. And to get to the point where, you know, this is as far as I'm willing to go. I'm not going to take my legal expenses beyond this point. So I'll take what you offer up to this point and move on.
And if
Right.
you're
That's
the
what it
one
is,
that is second, just make some tweaks to it.
Mhm.
Usually
You can
you'll
make
get-
some
yeah.
tweaks.
you know, that's what
Yeah.
you'll find that out before you even get into a situation with somebody else. Definitely. And what happens too when you start your business, usually with the state corporation commission, they will not allow a name that's already in use in that arena.
Or even close to it.
Right,
I know I tried to
exactly.
do
They allow
something
it,
once.
you're good.
Yeah. I tried to do one once and they wouldn't even allow something that was super close to it either.
Right.
You know, we had one word difference and they said, no, you got to pick something, you know, more different than that. So,
Yeah. So that's safeguard.
Felicia's saying the catering company, this is going back to Beyonce, the catering company had been in business for a while, which I agree. Well before the kid was born, I agree. So B was wrong for that. Yeah. But again, if you're dealing with, you know, multinational corporation, the best thing to do is have your paperwork and somebody may come and decide, hey, I'm, you know, willing to buy it from you. So Felicia's asking another question, same question as Charles. So Charles asked, we use an IP attorney or is it something that can be done on our own? And Felicia's asking, is it really necessary to pay an IP attorney? It sounds like the recommendation is to go ahead and file it now. Thoughts, question?
So intellectual property attorneys cover a lot more than just your logo. Get your logo, get yourself started, go ahead and get in business. Once you have a process, once you're starting to make, you know, some real money and you really want to get things going, because it depends on your business too, then you might want to go ahead and get with an intellectual property attorney.
Yeah, they cover your idea.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea that you don't want anyone to steal, then I would definitely go to an intellectual property attorney.
And draft up, especially if it's an idea that you're going to want to franchise or you're going to want to do something with, you know, then you draft up non-disclosure agreements for everybody you talk to, and you make them sign it. So you have that as well, and your attorney will have that as well. So you have recourse. If you have an idea, if you have something that you don't want to get out away from you, then yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Depends on
I
you.
will say also, there are a lot of intellectual property attorneys these days that have really, really cheap flat fees for doing stuff like this. Because a lot of times they already have everything, you know, you just have to fill in a few pieces of information. So I would check and see if there, you know, is an IP attorney that you feel comfortable with that has a flat rate a few $100s to do it, and you're able to develop a relationship with that person long term, because that's what they're looking for as well. They're looking for, if you've got, you can do a patent in the future or something like that that has more zeros to it. They want your business for that as well. So
but with regard to just starting your business, though, I mean, there's a lot you can do yourself, but LegalZoom can even help you for $79 to get your LLC going, or whatever your initial form of business is. So, there are ways to get started and be protected, and then to get deep once you get going.
right.
I wouldn't let that hold me back.
Right. And Neil on YouTube is saying, great point, protect your ideas because it's an asset. So yeah, your ideas are definitely an asset. So, all righty then. So then the next set of questions is moving from the Jamaican rum cake to a person who is in a career, let's say, and they want to create a powerful brand identity within a company, a corporation. What are some of your thoughts, anything from how they should put their resume together to presenting themselves? You brought up something great with regards to the serif and the sans serif, and am I presenting my someone who is a forward-thinking thought leader, management executive side, or am I somebody who is on the auditing, accounting, risk management side of the business? I'm just curious what your thoughts are with regards to people who have careers.
Well, I think that, the first thing is you got to know what people are looking for, so that when you walk in the door, it's the first thing they see. So that requires market research, meaning you have to look at the companies that you think you want to work for, find out as much as you can about them, look at the materials that they use to represent themselves. If you have an opportunity to talk to somebody who works there about the corporate culture, and what that corporate brand is, in order to get in, you come in behaving like the brand. And so your resume obviously has got to be clean and pointed towards what you want to do. I know a lot of people have come to us with resumes that show that they have 5 years of working at a shoe store and no graphic design experience. And so that's not gonna work. Or even if they have those years working at a shoe store, but they have 3 years of graphic design experience, better leave the shoe store off and just talk to me about the experience that you have that we're going to be interested in. So I think that's the first step. And then the second step in brand building is figuring out how you're going to set up a network within the company that you're going to be able to attract, who you're going to be able to attract as friends, as mentors, in order to make whatever move you want to make within the company.
It's similar to branding a business because, again, you have to get information about your audience and who you want to attract. So the same, just like Toren was saying, you'd have to find out about the company that you want to attract, or the person up the ladder that you want to attract, and see what they're about, and then match your branding to that.
Yeah. I just want to take one quick break here for just a 2-minute commercial here, just for anybody who is new to talk about the 10K Project, who we are, what we're doing. We're all about building up the Black community. And how do we do that? We are a community of individuals supporting Black entrepreneurs and investors. We consider ourselves an economic development movement. And there was a study that was done called the 3.5% rule. And it says that in countries that had social change, it was just 3.5% of those citizens that brought about massive social change. Well, we believe that we within the Black community, with 3.5% of us, which is about 1.3 million of us, can lead to massive economic change. And how do we do that? By focusing on higher incomes, buying assets, entrepreneurship, and generational wealth. That's what we do here. So we do have all sorts of events. Some of them are for the public, like what we're doing right now. Others are for members only. For example, tonight, I'm interviewing a friend of mine that has a facility management business, and she coaches people on how to get everything from, you know, um, uh, private companies, doing the facility management for them, all the way up to government contracts. So if that's something that interests you, you can definitely, if you're a member, drop on in there and hear Victoria's story. If you're not a member, this is a great chance for you to join. We have all sorts of other events that are forthcoming. Another example of a member webinar is the Starting a Family Bank webinar. We had a family, Black family, come on. They started with $25 per month per family member, and now they have 7 figures of cash and assets. So you get access to replays like this, and our Family Bank Challenge is going to start November 2nd. So definitely, if you want to get on our email list, come to the10kproject.com. You can sign up for any of our webinars, and you'll be automatically included on our email list so that when the Family Bank Challenge comes, you will be a part of it. You will get the notifications about it, so that your Thanksgiving and your Christmas can all be all about family banks and family wealth. So it's $100 one-time payment, access for life. You'll get all sorts of wealth building webinars, business building webinars for members only, exclusive content, and our upcoming business directory that is forthcoming. But wait, there's more, because we have filed with the SEC and FINRA to do something that is called equity crowdfunding. This is where the 10K Project comes in. When 10,000 everyday people come together, puts in $100 each into a business, that's $1 million. The community can start funding its own businesses, profiting from its own innovation. We can create jobs, and we can build Black wealth. So again, we have filed with the SEC and FINRA. Our FINRA application, we think we're going to file next week. But what we want to do is to be able to uplift the Black community by having entrepreneurs come to the community, give a pitch about their business, what their business is, what they're doing, how much money are they raising, what are they going to use the money for? And each individual person gets to decide, yes, I like that business. I'm going to put my $100 or more into that business in exchange for partial equity in that business, or no, that one's not for me. And it doesn't mean it's not a bad business. It just means that you want to wait for the following week to see the next business of the week that is going to be featured. So again, we have to say, if we are by legal, if we are approved, this is the path that the 10K Project is going to go in order to affect Black wealth. So again, you can become a member, one-time payment, the10kproject.com, one-time payment of $100. Thank you so much, everybody, for letting me do my little brief commercial there. If you have questions, I am on Facebook and YouTube, and you can ask me questions. Also, of course, obviously, I'm also on Zoom as well. So, so I wanted to just talk a little bit more about branding and give the family, you know, just some final words of encouragement about branding and about, you know, helping our businesses as we end 2020, you know, start 2021. We know that, or we believe that the economy is going to be much, much slower in rebounding. Potentially, we don't know what's going to be happening. How can our businesses use branding to, you know, survive some of the potential ups and downs that are forthcoming as well? Either one of you can answer that.
Well, I think it's important to recognize that the power in a business is your ability to serve and connect with people. And that's the power of branding, that you have an ability to connect with people. And if you can connect with people, then you can understand what people are needing at any point in time.
Mhm.
And when you understand that, you can make a shift, you can pivot, which is the most important thing to do right now, is being able to recognize opportunity,
Mhm.
opportunity for your brand.
Yeah.
And if you're a person who really understands that branding, is about what you give, when you take that approach, you get, because giving means understanding what people need. And that's how you change people's lives. Now, let me take it to where it should be in the job market. In the job market, it is when you understand the company and you understand what you can give to that company, how you can impact that company, then you've made strides towards getting hired and paid by that company. And when you get in that company and you understand how important it is for you to be able to connect with your coworkers, and you don't have to just be Mr. or Mrs. Jolly, jolly good friend, but it's really understanding what work needs to be done and how teamwork happens and how you contribute to that team. Then you start to connect and build friends, co-workers, mentors, and all those things that help you move up the line in your career. On the business side, if you started your business now, then look to see all of the different things that your business can offer people at this time. And you'll start to uncover opportunities for your business. And it's a lot like Monopoly in that respect. The more you start to put on the board, the more you start to invest, the more you start to own, the more spots you take up on the board in understanding people's needs, the more opportunities you have to be successful in your business.
That's true. Monica, you have
Yeah,
any thoughts about that?
I just want everyone to take away that branding is connecting, and it's connecting to your audience. And I have a story. When we first started, we were helping government contractors win contracts by branding their proposals to the government. So the change that we gave them was that they were writing these proposals and they were designing these proposals so that the proposals were all about the company. But the company was asking an agency to hire them. So we changed their proposals. We changed the colors in their proposals. We said, well, what agency are you talking to? We went and looked that agency up and found out what the colors of that agency were. Then we changed our proposals to look like the agency. So when they submitted their proposals to the agency said, oh, you look like us.
This is familiar, yeah.
And they were winning proposal after proposal after proposal. And it helped us get started. I mean, we kept getting business. They're like, they help you win proposals. They help you win contracts.
One of the proposals was a joint venture for a log cap contract, and they won a $7 billion IDIQ.
Oof. For those people who don't know, IDIQ stands for indefinite quantity. I know it's the IQ, indefinite delivery, I think it is, something like that. Indefinite. I know IQ is indefinite quantity.
Yeah, indefinite delivery.
Indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity.
It goes on for a long time.
And that proposal was one that we got called on Memorial Day weekend. And got no sleep the whole weekend. And Monica managed artists across the country bringing that brand, putting that brand in place so it looked like the client. And
that is interesting. We're going to have you two come back for a members only discussion where we dig down into that a lot more deeply, because I think if people are able not just to get government, but Fortune 500 as well. So, there's, for example, the Minority Supplier Development Council, and a lot of us are not either in it, we don't know what it is, we're not taking advantage of it. And then what you've just talked about is, okay, you get in front of these Fortune 500 companies who have said, yes, we want to have more business, from more ethnically diverse founders. you know, but how do we actually present ourselves in such a way? And I do think that this is like one piece of it, like our financials have to be straight and et cetera.
sure.
So I'm definitely going to have the two of you come back and talk about that. And I
Awesome.
might have a couple of other people come and talk from their points of view as well, because we want, again, it's if we get approval by the SEC and FINRA to say it for legal purposes, but we're looking to have more employer-based Black businesses, meaning Black businesses that can get up to $750,000 plus and start hiring people within the community. Well, it does take us using the tools that are available to us and creating these relationships so that you are able to go out and get this type of business, whether it's government, you know, corporate, middle market. A lot of people don't talk about middle market. There's a lot of money in middle market companies. And over the next few months, we're going to have a lot of these conversations in members only areas where people can really figure out how to take advantage of these opportunities.
Great.
So join the10kproject.com. I'll put a little plug in there for us again. So I want to thank though both of you for coming in and talking with us. If the family needs to get in touch with you, you know, they want to talk to you about anything that they're doing with branding, what's the best way for us to get in touch with you?
Email info@seaberrydesign.com.
Perfect.
Really?
Info@seaberrydesign.com. SEABERRY.
Design.
Design.
Don't put an S after design. A lot of us make it Seaberry Designs. It's not. It's singular. Seaberry.
Singular. So
And the
perfect.
website is seaberrydesign.com too.
Perfect. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us across all of the platforms. We really appreciate you being here today. And we hope that there was something today that blessed you. And, you know, we will see you tonight if you're a member and you want to be a part of the facility management discussion. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.